something like Grammarly.
AI can help you brainstorm. It can also help enhance your work.
AI can also translate languages or turn speech to text or text to speech.
AI can be used as a tutor. One example is Khan Academy. Another thing you can use AI for is taking notes for you if your teacher approves.
Fun facts.
AI has been a thing since 1950. Most of AI's voices are females.
Pets may soon be replaced by AI. AI is also assisting with surgeries.
The cool thing AI can do is predict deaths. One question that AI answers uses 1.5 kilowatts of energy.
So you could make 2 lines.
Cool. I can see the game. Oh, it looks good.
Instructions on instruction.
Okay.
Oh, look at that. Okay, got it.
Video camera. Just from here.
Don't go yet. Too bad. It's time. It's time.
Oh boy. Okay. Lauren's competitive. Watch out.
Yeah. Am I supposed to touch?
Oh boy.
And then you'll get a.
Oh, no, all right.
Results here. Yes.
Oh.
Right.
No, that's it.
Yes.
Yes,
It's not a
there it is.
I think we know who won that one, sorry.
Wow.
Ooh.
So
Oh, yeah.
you have 3 chances. If you get beat 3 times, then you win.
Okay, so I gotta do this, I gotta get it right? Sure.
Yeah. I mean, okay.
First? Who was first?
I don't know.
We talked about.
If you guys were first, then oh.
Wow.
Barely.
Okay.
You have 1 chance left.
Here we go.
You have to.
Let's go to. Okay, I like that.
Oh, it's not quick. I just need to cook for you. I want. It's never got it cold. Yeah. Nice one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I'm pretty sure they know.
That's cool. Oh, right.
Who's the winner?
So.
Oh no.
Just sit down. Thank you. Namaste. It's that. Oh.
Oh, hold on. Oh, wait, 1 second. All right, you do that.
Any questions or comments?
And you could do that with any topic too, right?
And we have AI if you want to ask a question to AI. Pilot. Yeah, it can write you something. It can answer a question. Song for Academy District 20.
How long do you count chihuahuas?
I mean, it can answer that. Yeah.
I don't have a good question with these guys, too.
Just want to share the song.
Okay.
Sing it.
Yeah, it's singing.
So what's you can
You can see that.
just say
A few words.
Just read it.
So it says, in the shadows of the mountain high, where the eagles dare to fly, children gather, hearts are one, underneath the bright Colorado sun.
Yeah.
Theme song.
Okay. 12 to 20 years. Okay. Very specific. Is there any other questions? Yes. Yes.
Nice job. Great job. Yes, that was great. Yep. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. That was awesome. AI is definitely becoming quickly part of the K-12 environment. Next is Chinook Trail Elementary School, Miss Yanez.
Okay, doing this. Chinook Trail Elementary, welcome. Get set up. Okay, I'll read this while you guys get set up, okay? Chinook Trail Elementary School sent its second team to the PLC Institute in Las Vegas in June. They now have 15 staff members who have attended and lead the process. Their clubs and activities continue to be a big part of their school culture. A shout out to their CTE, to their Chinook Trail Elementary parents. They collected donations from the parent community and completely funded, organized, and hosted their staff holiday party. It was appreciated by Chinook Trail Elementary staff as they had just had to show up and enjoy the evening, complete with lots of door prizes. Please welcome Principal Pat Shoemaker and Assistant Principal Corinne Kessler.
User error. Board and Superintendent, thank you for having us tonight. One of the questions that I get a lot is with a school as large as ours, how do you still maintain that community feel and that small school feel, which we've done for many, many years. So tonight I have an amazing fifth grade teacher, one of the amazing talented folks that we have among our staff, and two fifth graders to share a little bit about two projects that our fifth graders, one just this homeroom does, and then they're going to also highlight what our larger fifth grade community does to start each and every school year. So I will turn it over to Miss Elena Livingston.
So just so you can see a cute little picture of our team here. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you. So I know that this sounds cliche, but if you can't reach them, you can't teach them. And so one of the things that is really important to me and what my teaching philosophy really boils down to is the importance of building a relationship with my kids. I want them to feel safe to take risks in the classroom. And so we do a lot to build that, not just at the beginning, but it is including like morning meetings, listening to their stories and their interests, bringing those into the classroom so that we can connect their lives to what we're doing. I also believe in sharing my life with them. And part of that is sharing passions and excitement and just all those everyday moments that we also as adults go through. So we do a lot of hands-on projects that integrate real life concepts that are taught in the classroom. One way that we do it is working towards being a family, because I make a big deal in our classroom about how we're a family. I see them more than I see my own children. And so it's really important that they know that and that they see each other as that as well. So we do the class quilt, and every kid gets to do a square that represents them. And then I bring in my sewing machine. They get an opportunity to actually sew the quilt together. So they get that opportunity that maybe they haven't had before, to use a different type of technology. But we sew it. We talk about, why those things are on there. And then we get to enjoy them throughout the year. So we get to snuggle under them, like kids get turns with them. So it's pretty amazing. I've seen the impact of this relationship building activity supporting academic success in my classroom and how they talk to one another. I've seen it in literacy, where they draw on each other's interests and connect it to what we're reading, so they've developed those deeper understandings. I've seen it in math. Every now and then I'll hear a fourth of an inch is smaller. Remember the quilt we made? So it's really neat because it just allows them to kind of have a different type of connection. While the quilt builds our class community, the 5th grade at our building does the community challenge. And it is an amazing experience where it's a half day and they get to do a lot of, no, go back. You're not in charge. Here. Okay, there we go. Okay. I'm firing him for a moment, sorry. But the community challenge challenges them to think creatively, take leadership roles, work with others that they might not otherwise get to work with, because it's a combination of all 4 of our classrooms. The leadership and communication skills carry into our classrooms as we combine the entire 5th grade into leveled groups for reading and math during our intervention blocks. And we do that 4 days a week. So gives them the opportunity to meet people, but it also gives us the opportunity to include our community, because it takes a lot of volunteers to make it happen. So this year we were blessed. We had not just 5th grade families, but we actually had some kindergarten families that were supporting our 5th graders as well. So it gives them a chance to see where they're headed, to connect with staff. I could go on and on, you guys, but you need to hear from who it actually impacts and who it really is why we do what we do. So I have 2 of my kiddos here. I have Luke Smith and Gracie Delorme, and these are brave, creative leaders within my classroom, and I'm excited that they get to share.
Hello, my name is Gracie Delorme. I'll be telling you about how special the class quilt is to me. There are many important things my class quilt means to me, but I'm only telling you the main 3 reasons why it's so important to me. One of my most important parts of this experience is when I got to sew the quilt square onto the quilts. Another one of my favorite parts was that we got to do whatever we wanted, and I got to use my creativity on the quilt square. My last reason why the quilt square was important to me was because I got to learn things about others in my class based on what they like and what they drew. My quilt square was a sloth on an oak tree drinking boba, and on the bottom there was another sloth drinking tea on a swing. Making the quilt square is a memory I'll treasure forever, because I was able to make the quilt with my friends. Thank you for listening to my presentation on the quilt square. On the quilt.
Hello, board members. I'm Luke Smith, and I'll be telling you about one of our amazing group building activities, the Community Challenge. This was a half day where we had to do puzzles and challenges that build up bonds that will last a lifetime. I'll only be telling you a couple because I only have 2 minutes. Each activity was 15 minutes long, and all of them were so fun, but my personal favorite was the A-frame. In this challenge, one person stands on the A-frame with ropes dangling down. Our group grabbed the ropes and, with the help of the person on it, made the A-frame walk. Then we rotated so someone else could have a turn on the A-frame. Some of my peers' favorites include the ski challenge, where our team split into 3 groups and raced on giant wooden skis, the obstacle course, where we built our own path from point A to point B with things like a tire, carpet squares, and 2x4 wood pieces, and the sled challenge, where we built our own sled out of wooden rope and towed someone on it. So fun. It was awesome to see everyone work together, some people taking charge, some people following the leader, and others doing their own thing. Everyone agrees that it was super nice to meet people from other classes, and for some people, it was super important to meet new friends. Community Challenge Day is a day that will stay in my mind for a long, long time, and it was amazing. Thank you for listening to my presentation on Community Challenge Day. Do you guys have any questions?
So we're really grateful to have this opportunity to share how much our admin staff allows us, encourages us, and makes it possible for us to build a community so that we really can grow academically as well as humans.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And remember to stick around. We'll do pictures in just a few minutes. All right. Also, for those of you, we have a new face up here, Miss Ruckman. So she is taking over for Miss Matson-Bonet, and we're looking forward to having you here. So with that, Miss Ruckman, are there any updates to the agenda?
There were updates to the agenda, and the board has been notified of these.
Thank you. Board, were there any items you wish to move from the consent agenda? Okay.
Mr. Salz.
Oh, yes, sir.
Since we've had to delay this evening's session due to weather, should we remove item O, resolution 1525 from consent?
Yes. Well, that needs to be, 1 second. No.
No.
So
Okay.
what we're doing this evening is the superintendent evaluation. This is the contract.
You're right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Anything else? All right. Are there any discussion items to be added to the agenda? All right. Due to inclement weather, I move that we postpone tonight's executive session until January 16th, 2025.
Moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons? Aye. Mrs. Shandy? Aye. Mr. Wilburn?
Aye.
Mrs. Yanez?
Aye.
Mr. Salt?
Aye. All right. Now, may we please have a motion to approve the agenda with this change?
Moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons? Aye. Mrs. Shandy? Aye. Mr. Wilburn?
Aye.
Mrs. Yanez?
Aye.
Mr. Salt?
Aye. All right. Tonight's board quote is from Mr. Wilburn.
Tonight's quote is taken from the prophet Habakkuk, and it is, excuse me, write down the vision and describe it clearly on tablets so that the one who reads it may run with it. And while I think the wisdom of that is obvious, to take our visions and write them down so others and generations following us can run with them, as an education institution, I think it's really important to note that this book was written in 600 BC, so about 2,600 years ago, and they still recognized the importance of reading and writing. The importance of being able to write it and the importance of being able to read it 2,600 years ago was not lost on anyone in humankind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any board comments this evening? Yes, Yanez.
So my 2 out of the 3 of my board comments are about the study session that we had today. We were talking about, CTE opportunities and just the alignment of the portrait of a graduate work. And I was able to be at a few of those task force meetings. I want to be at all of them. They continue on. I just noticed the 21st, there's another one. But having worked in a competency-based school before, I know the amount of work that it takes and intentionality to take competencies and bring those into your lessons and build a scope and sequence around that. So I just wanted to give a massive and huge shout out to that entire team because I watched some of that work happen. And, you know, the thinking maps, my favorite, bubble maps and connecting and all of that good stuff. And I have to tell this one little story. When I was at Chinook Trail Middle, we were doing the same thing. And I remember the summer before we started, we sat down, it's like, what are we going to teach? And how are we going to do it? And we made this curriculum wall. And I had this idea that Tom Andrew laughed at. And then maybe it was a couple of our ideas actually, but actually taking string and connecting our competencies to different units in different grade levels, and then even connecting grade level to grade level, or across grade levels. It was really impactful work. The strings fell down, but I'm sure that's been digitized by now. So I just really wanted to make that shout out. That's super important to everyone doing that work. And then another was an idea that I had during that conversation. So being an early childhood educator now and having also taught elementary, sometimes we've been talking a lot about working in silos, specifically around CTE, teachers and whatnot. Well, there's something else that I've kind of thought about, and that's, and these fifth graders that were here tonight doing their exhibition projects right here, connecting, and we know this, the portrait of the graduate work down to elementary, right? We know that, but also the video that we saw and we've seen, and during our meeting today, showing that to our elementary students of our actual high school students doing the work. Maybe they have a sibling, maybe they don't, but how would they otherwise see the opportunities that await them later in D20? So that was something I was thinking about. And even possibly doing a day in the district where we celebrate this, right? Where at every level, I teach preschool. We have career boxes, right? I'm starting to rethink some of my career boxes. Like I may change some of them based on the changing technologies, but they get really into it. And I have posters of the people doing the work and the tools in a box, and they can try that on and be that for a little bit. And we kind of just say, oh, that's kids just playing dress up and dramatic play. But I think it's more than that. I think you're inspiring young children and helping them build passions from a very early age. Okay. And then finally, I dropped my kid off in Denver to ship off with the Army on December 30th. And when I did that, it was really hard, right? There was and I hesitate to say their family name because I didn't ask her first, but she works in the district and they were also sending their son off. And so we got to have a D20 moment tearfully in this room saying goodbye to our kids who were so incredibly well prepared. Who are going to go embrace some hard stuff. And yeah, just had to share that with you guys.
Thank you. Ms. Collins.
I want to take a moment, which is not enough, but to recognize all the amazing talents and love that Tina Matson-Bonet has given us as a board, to previous board members, current board members. But I think Tina probably started as our board secretary 6 months, 7 months before we were elected. And I remember asking her a few weeks into working with her, like, how many years have you been doing this? Because she is brilliant and just never failed us. I just can't believe everything she kept track of for us, helped make happen. I won't go into all the details. You guys know what she does. But Tina is moving on to another department, and they are very lucky to have her. We've been lucky that she is training our wonderful new secretary, Cheryl, who we welcome. And I'm gonna get up too, but I can't walk away from the microphone. So I just want everyone to please give a warm, loving goodbye, continuing journey. Round of applause to Tina, please. And a big welcome to Cheryl, who we are so, so excited to have on our team.
Right. Superintendent Haver.
So we're going to continue the celebrations because January is National School Board Appreciation Month. And I just want to speak on behalf of all of the folks in D20, just how amazing you guys are as a board. We really want to express our deepest gratitude for your outstanding leadership and your unwavering dedication, the multiple hours that you volunteer to serve this organization to make sure that our students really have a quality education. And I just really, and speaking on behalf of D20, just so much appreciate your dedication. You really are shaping, playing a pivotal role, I think, in shaping the future of our community. Because we're working with our students, right? We're changing it and positively impacting the world one student at a time. And you just have just demonstrated over and over again tireless efforts toward giving our students the tools they need to be successful. So now I invite you to watch a short video that expresses our gratitude. See if it works here. I have a problem with buttons evidently today. Okay, there we go. Oh, no. Go back. Yeah, go ahead. Up, sound. Okay.
I would like to say thank you to the D20 Board of Education. Together, these dedicated individuals volunteer their time, energy, and expertise to guide our district. And
Start over.
behalf of Academy District 20, Team 1, I would like to say thank you to the D20 Board of Education. Together, these dedicated individuals volunteer their time, energy, and expertise to guide our district and ensure that every student develops the knowledge, skills, and character to thrive. The month of January is School Board Appreciation Month, and I'm so thankful for their collaboration and true dedication to our students. All year round, we visit schools together and witness incredible teaching and learning taking place in our classrooms. Their commitment to building strong connections with our educators and understanding the needs of our students firsthand inspires the decisions they make to support Academy District 20's vision. It's with their partnership that we continue to grow and succeed as a community. Their leadership fuels us in so many ways as we continue to prepare all students for post-secondary readiness. Please join me in expressing gratitude to our wonderful school board for their service. Together, we are building a bright future, one student at a time.
So I'd ask you to join me in applause for our wonderful school board. That is not part of that is, but it is. It's true. I'm pushing the button and it's not allowing me to go forward. There we go. Okay. So I did have a chance to visit some schools and again, just saw amazing things happening in our classroom. In the classrooms up in the left-hand corner was a kindergarten school at Woodman Roberts, our kindergarten class, and they were using a tool called Seesaw. And you can see that the student was giving a presentation, the teacher was recording it, and she then will take that recording and send it right away to the parents. So Seesaw is just an amazing use of technology to build those partnerships with parents. Over on the right-hand side, we've got more small group instruction. We're really committed to meeting the needs of every student. And on the bottom was their tag teacher, really engaging them in a very rigorous math lesson. They're really into it. I learned a lot of math that day just being in there. And then Timberview Middle School, really a huge shout out to Melissa Ellenberg and Kevin Rourke. These band teachers are amazing. Every time I go to Timberview, it's like, can we go visit the band room? So when I was in there, I heard a rousing version, a very cheery version of Jingle Bells from the beginning 6th grade band students. And you would have never known that they were actually 6th grade beginners. They were amazing. And another huge highlight is we are well on our way with working together with our PK Design Advisory Group to really imagine what do we want for our PK Douglas Valley K-8 school. So we recently visited Nettie Free K-8 school in Pueblo. And it's a huge thank you to the administration at Nettie. You can see the principal there with a giant hat. It was a hat day at their school, and in spite of some of the chaos that was there because of a special day, he really gave of his time. Up in the left-hand corner was a nice, big, beautiful cafeteria that had a lot of natural lighting. The middle top picture is a picture of the collaborative spaces, which we really want to be able to have in the new PK8 as well. So on the right, we're like, let's say 3, I think there were first grade classrooms, and they can literally open their doors and students can work on projects not only in the classroom, but in the shared area. And all 3 teachers, if they wanted to, could open their doors and they could have a grade level collaborative experience. So we're definitely wanting to look at doing something like that in our school. And on the far right, we just couldn't help but take pictures of the fish-shaped tables. Never seen that before, but also the size of the classrooms. And this is all important because RTA, the architectural group that we hired for Douglas Valley, is also the company that built this school. So it was really nice to be able to see an example of that. On the bottom left was a giant CTE classroom, which is great because I know that we want to really do a lot of connections, career pathway connections between Douglas Valley PK8 and Air Academy High School. And you can see because of the space, and they had lots of, you can see drop downs for electricity. You could move all kinds of different equipment in and out of there depending on what kind of CTE pathway they wanted to focus on. And then on the bottom right, just a huge thank you to our design team, and a thank you to Director Shandy. You were able to go with us on this tour and then stayed for our meeting and is going to be a part of our day committee. Is there anything else you'd want to add?
It was super valuable to go and see the building that this architecture firm had done and get lots of ideas, and then come back and sit together as a team and work through the challenges of our land in that particular space, and the way that it really slopes and how that affects your building and all that. So it was really great conversations and movement forward. So thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for your time too and serving on that committee. We have a lot of fun here in the EAC. People are the heart of our success. And so we had a great Christmas celebration, and a huge thank you to Tina and Mary, really spearheaded this. And on the right, there's our amazing payroll team. They wanted to come up. I had a great chat with them. Like, I have to get a picture of you guys. So another wonderful celebration, Pine Creek launched their unified sports team, which is where we side by side with students with special needs, with our students coming together around sports. So a huge thank you to coaches Pinder, Rosh, and Jubik for bringing the unified sports team and the girls and boys basketball team together for a shared practice. This is really an example of that Team One spirit. So we just want to show you this short clip.
More than a game gets tossed around very loosely, but at Pine Creek High School, they take it seriously. The boys and girls basketball teams have their eyes set on a deep playoff run, but one of their favorite practices of the season is with the District 20 Unified Basketball team. Unified team members were happy to share their favorite parts of the practice.
It'll have to be being with my friends, and playing very well at it. Probably meeting the basketball players.
Just being able to see both teams, the guys and the girls, super excited for our players. You know, anytime they'd make the ball, they'd steal the ball, they'd do a great defensive play, the cheering that they had, just to see these kids smile every single time something happened, it was great.
But for Jackson Reed, this experience gave him a feeling that he never had before.
I really never liked the basketball until today.
Well, I think he feels a part of a team now. He feels a part of the school. That's exactly why we're doing this, is so that these kids can also feel part of the school.
The entire practice was filled with laughs, smiles, scoring baskets, and the best part was the celebrations.
What's your favorite celebration to do after you score?
Clapping and hugging my friends. Probably the dab.
The dab? Can I see you do the dab? Yeah. And if they didn't show off their moves after they scored, it's only because they saved them for the dance-off after practice. And the relationship goes both ways with the unified team. They were at the girls' basketball game earlier today, cheering them on. For Newside Sports, I'm Dante William.
So huge shout out to Pine Creek and their programming and really building that strong connectedness within their culture. Other amazing students that we have, 2 District 20 athletes have been named for the Gazette's Preps Peak Performers of the Year for their outstanding seasons. Air Academy Tessa Walter, a senior on the cross country team. She's played a major role in the team's back-to-back state titles and serves as a leader for her teammates. And next, Pine Creek freshman Braylon Disquitado was recognized for his amazing tennis season where he finished a 21 record and won 19 of his 20 matches in straight sets. It's impressive. And really congrats to both of these athletes for this wonderful recognition. We really started off the year with some amazing spirit of connectedness and collaboration with our stakeholders meetings. We met with our patrons group, our parents, our teachers, our classified group, and our students, and our business roundtable all in one week. And a huge thank you again to Dr. Jamin Pariseau and his team for their presentation about the different college and career and technical education programs and for the amazing job he did tonight and for our wonderful CTE teachers. For our Patrons Council, we were able to invite all of those teachers to come and speak to our patrons. And a huge thank you to Steve Erickson, who's the computer science teacher and cybersecurity teacher at Pine Creek, RJ Savage, who's the automotive teacher at Liberty, Allie Johnson, business and finance teacher at Air Academy, Adam True, who's the digital media teacher at Air Academy, and Patrick Mooring, who's our digital media teacher at Rampart, and Mitch Burke, who is the biomedical sciences teacher at Discovery Canyon. And you can see all of them there on the bottom. Really shared their personal stories, and I learned so much. I was taking notes. Like I didn't know at Pine Creek now, you can take advanced placement classes in cybersecurity, a level 1 and a level 2 class. Just really amazing stories. And I'd really like to find a way to weave them in to come in and kind of share about their class throughout the year, maybe next year for the superintendent updates. We had our business roundtable yesterday. Was it this morning? Oh my gosh, it was this morning. I was up way too early this morning. I was outside looking to see what the snow was going to do at 3 a.m. and then 4 a.m. and then came to Liberty. So it was really a wonderful time. We had several business folks there. They're really committed to wanting to build partnerships with us. And a huge thank you to Matt Sisson, the principal at Liberty, and his staff for hosting this. And again, to our wonderful CTE and Career Pathway department here at the EAC. So what you can see is there in the middle is our partnership with the community college, Pikes Peak Community College, where they actually practice on mannequins and earn their CNA certificate. Over on the right, RJ Savage, who shared with us during our work study, really talking about just how he's really teaching computer and technology because what did he say? There's 2 main computers in every car plus multiple 17 other computers. So it's like almost 20 computers in every car, and really students have to learn so much more about cars than ever. And even talked about even today about how many of his students go on to even major in engineering and how this program really helped them with that. Over in the left-hand corner, Mr. Hernandez was showing us, you see that box with the light, his students are designing a camper that could also transport motorcycles. The motorcycles in the back and then the camper. And it was really fun. Showed us the blueprints that were on the side there. And then over on the right, Javier is one of the students who you can see his car in the back. He's literally rebuilding an engine of, I know it's a type of hot rod, and RJ Savage said that he goes over and asks him how to fix things sometimes because he's gotten so proficient at motors and how they work. So it's just really inspiring. And thank you, Director Shandy and Director Cons, for being there. Anything else you would like to share about what you saw today with the roundtable?
We already reiterated this to a couple of the teachers and Dr. Pariseau, but I'm just thrilled for the vast opportunities that Liberty and all of our schools are building for our students to explore every opportunity possible. And our facilities are state of the art. Awesome.
Just really the life lessons, Mr. Savage talked about the amount of time spent on life lessons in the classroom and how that classroom connects kids to school, to academics. I mean, he talked about physics and chemistry being the basis for those programs where that might not be a class that one of those kids would normally take, but they're doing it and they're excelling in it. So it's a wonderful program.
I think it's also amazing. He applied for a grant, and it's a $40,000 kit where students can get training to be able to diagnose cars, and that all the dealerships in town are already saying, when are your kids going to get certified? Because he said, only 2% of people who are currently out working in the field even have this certification. And I think we're probably one of the only schools in the state, one of very few, that offer this programming. So huge shout out to all of our CTE teachers. And it's just a huge celebration, like you guys are saying, about what's going on in our district. Great happens here. So that's the end of my presentation. I think I made it under 30. I don't know. Okay.
Did a great job. All right. We need a motion to approve the consent agenda as posted.
Moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, we have 28 attendees watching us online. We're going to go and take a quick break so we can do pictures. So if you're a part of the spotlight, please meet Mr. Belcher over here at the corner, and we'll take about a 5 to 7 minute break. Thank you.
I know, I don't but I'm like, I'm waiting. Oh, no. Everybody yell at them.
It's fine with the clothing, but the long hair is yet to adjust to the fact that you're actually brushing every day.
Well, I'm like,
So Asher made a question because he doesn't like it's so thick. He doesn't like get like very big.
Right there. Don't move him up.
Makes room. No, Daddy's in the car. Cheese. Got like love that it's gonna be a different. Oh my gosh, this. Oh. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for tuning. Yeah. Very picture. This is down there. Well, we it was very. Way to kill it. No. I did help you. He's not liking your personality. Oh my gosh. You did awesome, Luke. Oh, who didn't have emotions? Maybe your mom was a kid on your surgery. Fine. All right, don't freeze out there, baby. Chilly. Tasty, ready to go. Intact, like that's like whole thing. No, I'm in Sharon. It's online board meeting. I still have to do these. They're like the we need to change. It's not like time. I will be there. I know you'll last. I know you don't feel. I know. My hands is like. I'm like. I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah, and that's only for, yeah, for trying to make. Yeah. Chaos. He is definitely. Make sure he gets his meds. How long was it? No. I just thought they all. Yes, yes. Yeah, it's starting to it's always kind of
All right, I'm calling this meeting back to order. Next is item 8, but there are no items pulled from the consent agenda, so we're moving on to our written reports. First is A, annual monitoring report for policy 2.9, communication and support to the board. Did anyone have any questions or comments? Right. So for the MRE, is the superintendent's interpretation of the policy reasonable? Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Are all sections in compliance? Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? Would you like to see additional different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next reporting cycle? Do you see any evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? Okay. Item B, annual report from New Summit Charter Academy. Did anyone have any questions? All right. Mr. Isaac, if you would like to grab a seat. Thank you for being here this evening and submitting the report. Ms. Cons.
Hi, Jen. Thank you for being here. I'm not sure if these questions made it your way because I made, okay, good. Thank you. Okay. It's like I might have just addressed them to Kim. Just a couple minor things. There was a pie chart, I don't know, maybe page 82, I think, about revenue and expenditure allocations. My only suggestion in future years is maybe if you could program it with the percentage of the whole for each slice of the pie. It helps me compare to all the other district schools easier.
Okay.
So,
And I can, I'll relay that to Kim and to Glenn Gustafson, who
Yes.
is our CFO.
okay.
I'll make sure that they get that as well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And then this was not just to New Summit, but it's kind of a springboard for us as a whole to have a discussion, but maybe you can give a little insight. One of your root causes was inadequate implementation of quality instructional practices among educators.
Yes.
So do you want to share with us addressing that?
Absolutely. I came very prepared for this. So we didn't have to do our UIP this year, but we do it every year. So we review it, look at how we were doing from the previous years, and if we need to tweak anything. So we look at it every year and redo that. And so we didn't have to this year, but we did anyway, and then submitted that this year. So one of the ways that we're really looking at the quality instructional practices and making sure that our staff are doing that appropriately. So we have instructional coaching sessions to identify specific areas where the instructional practices need improvement. And we have an instructional coach who models teaching and practices. I always say everybody needs a Jamie Pleamer in your life because she's amazing and has really assisted our teachers and have helped them become better. And then we have coaching cycles where the staff set goals and strategies to obtain the goals that they set. We also offer peer observations to watch master teachers and learn the strong teaching techniques, best practices, and to have more tools in their tool belt. And then also we are in the process of restructuring our PLC and MTSS process better to meet the needs of our staff and students. We also got to go to the big PLC conference from Solution Tree, which a lot of your leadership was there, and by far it was the best conference I've ever attended in my 20 years in education. Hands down, one of the best, money well spent to attend that. And it's really helped guide us as we are looking at reshifting how we do things to ensure that we're meeting students' needs. The teachers will be trained with solution tree approaches and then also more focused data-driven PLCs. We've also became a certified induction CDE induction site for our staff. And so they go through a mentor program with any new teacher in the building or teachers that need further development. We've also aligned our evaluation tool along with CDEs where staff receive 2 informal observations, 1 formal. And then we also staff complete self-evaluations 2 times a year and then set their SMART goals based on their student data. And then we also have professional development trainings that we've done. Dibbles, TS Gold, Capturing Kids' Hearts, the PLC, MTSS. We're also really working on the writing standards. So aligning with what District 20 is doing too, looking at that writing piece in the PLCs. We've done the same. We're also looking at technology in classroom, content specific, executive functioning. We also give teachers weekly executive functioning tips for a lot of our students that need that extra support. And then also we're doing celebrating successes for both staff and students. We have IXL certificates and leaderboards. We have our big NWA Superstars wall that we put our kids, even if they grew 1 point, they get to go up on the board because they grew. We also have monthly staff shout outs, staff boast board, affirmation walls. So we're really digging into making sure also from the results now of the quality instructional practices and teaching curriculum with fidelity. Did switch last year to Eureka Math Squared and have seen a great growth through having that high quality curriculum. And we also have been focusing on our ELA program as well. And so seeing great growth with that. So we're addressing in a lot of different ways.
I appreciate all of that information so much. And thank you for all the work you do. And I just want to say, one of the things I loved about New Summit when I was there visiting was your monthly awards assemblies, for lack of a better term. And I think you use the Capturing Kids' Hearts.
We do.
Competencies, that's the word in my head, for each month that you focus on, correct? A different. So I love that you guys are honoring that character and whole child human development too. So,
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments, board?
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic report, as always. Somewhere early in the report, I think about page 10, 11, 12, something like that. You went over your student to teacher ratio by grade. If we throw out the outlier, which is kindergarten, that one's clearly out of the norm.
Yes.
If we look at the rest, it looks to me like we average out somewhere around 22, 23 to 1, something like that. Is that consistent with charter? Is that consistent with the goal? What is the goal?
Yes, that is pretty consistent with charter schools. Our ultimate goal is 25 to 1. So kinder is 20, we'll oversubscribed up to 22. Second grade is 22, and we'll oversubscribe to 25 if we need. And then second all the way through 8th grade is 25. And then sometimes we'll oversubscribe to 28 if we need to. So right now it's pretty consistent with the last couple of years of that ratio.
Okay, so you're right in the sweet spot. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And I was told we need to see if we can do a quick sound check with Dan. Dan, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We got you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Next written report was item C, overview of the Academy District 20 choice process. Did anyone have any questions? Ms. Cons?
I just want to thank Ms. Allen for answering my question already via email. But if anyone else was wondering, I was asking about historical trends on our choice data percentages, and it is almost exactly the same every year. So this year was 62% in district neighborhood, 20% in district choice, 18% out of district choice, and it's been the same. Yep. So thank you.
Great, thanks. Ms. Inez, did you have something? Okay, thank you. Item D, tracking graduates. Did anyone have any questions or comments regarding tracking graduates?
Mr. President.
Ms. Shandy.
I did have a question for Dr. Pariseau or Kristen at work, either way. So the data that the database provides is awesome, and I love it, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate it. I do feel like as we grow and we are looking at career fields and CTE pathways and things like that, that data needs to grow with us. And so I would love just a more holistic view of all of the outcomes and not just college bound. So however we can do that, I would love to see a more holistic view of, and I know it's not what that database does.
Yeah, I think right now we don't have a way to collect that. And I know a lot of districts I've worked with, it's not very valid. It's a lot of self-reporting. And what students think sometimes in May is wildly different than what happens in August. But I definitely think we could look at options and see what we might be able to do, because I agree it's concerning when we have less students going to college, but we don't know where they're going. Are they going to the military? Are they working? Are they, in a trades program? And so I think that is a very valid point.
Yeah, just I think as we grow, we need a report to grow with us. So however to do that, thank you. Perfect. But I do appreciate that, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
So.
no, I appreciate the suggestion. Thanks.
Mr. Cameron, did you want to make a remark about Wyoming being on that list?
Yeah, we're still in the top 10. And I don't see Kansas on there anymore.
Any other questions or comments? Right. Next is changes to administrative policies. Item E, did anyone have any questions or comments? Next report is the first semester 24-25 expulsion report. State law CRS 24-72-2-43D3, the public records law, requires the Board of Education to comply with provisions of the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, which protects the confidentiality of student discipline records. Therefore, the report by the superintendent on student expulsions for the first semester 24-25 is a confidential report. Next, item G, annual monitoring report for governance process policy 4.6, board officers roles. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay. Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Are all sections in compliance? Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? Would you like to see additional different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next reporting cycle? Do you see evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? Okay. Next, item H, annual monitoring report for governance process policy 4.11, board member conflict of interest. Did anyone have any questions or comments? Okay. Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Are all sections in compliance? Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? Would you like to see additional or different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next reporting cycle? Do you see evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? Okay. Item I, annual monitoring report for governance process policy 4.12, process for addressing board member violations. Any comments or questions?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ms. Cons.
Thank you. So I want to clarify this policy 4.12. 4.12 outlines the process of addressing perceived violations. It's the policy of how we handle the perceived violations, not where we notate actual violations of other policies such as a code of conduct or conflict of interest. And Ms. Yanez just asked us to please excuse her. Her son that just got shipped off to basic training got his phone for a brief few minutes to call. So she was waiting for that. That's why her phone kept dinging. So I hope that helps clarify that this is 4.12 is not where we speak about policy violations of other GP policies. It just is the process for how we have addressed perceived violations. So there were 2 instances of perceived or possible violations over the last year, and we are in compliance, as this report states, of adhering to this policy in how we addressed the violations or the perceived violations. I would like to strike one sentence in my submitted report, please, under right about in the middle, under the bold word evidence, right next to it, where it says there were no BOE member violations during this monitoring period. So I would like to remove just that sentence from my report before it goes in the board docs files for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's a confusing statement. I take this statement as there were no board member violations of this policy 4.12. which is accurate because we followed the steps. So it's not talking about that there were no board member violations under any GP policy, but that's where the statement gets a little vague and confusing. Number 2, reason I want to strike this is because this policy 4.12 is about addressing perceived violations is how it's stated. The statement of evidence of no violations is irrelevant in this report because we're just talking about addressing perceived. We haven't even gotten to the point in 4.12 of talking about actual violations that occurred. So any violations would be noted in the policy report for which they fall under, such as 4.10 and 4.11. So regarding policy 4.10, board member code of conduct, that I removed from this month's agenda and moved on to February's agenda. After the monitoring period for 4.10 for the report that was previously submitted. After that monitoring period ended on December 14th of 2024, since then, one or more board members have voiced concern that a previously perceived violation was now that had already been addressed properly using 4.12 was now escalating to an actual violation. So thus technically the potential violation would be noted on next year's report because these concerns about it becoming an actual violation came up after the monitoring period ended. But just because of the close timing of this situation, these situations, in good faith, I am reviewing GP 4.10 with Vice President Salt to present in February.
So you've got a motion to strike the phrase, "There were no BOE member violations during this monitoring report or monitoring period." Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Aye.
Mrs. Shandy,
Aye.
Mr. Wilburn,
Aye.
Mr. Salt.
Aye. Thank you, Ms. Collins. Were there any other questions or comments related to GP 4.12 monitoring report? Okay. Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Are all sections in compliance? Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? Would you like to see additional or different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next reporting cycle? Do you see any evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? Okay. Right. Next is item 10, presentations. We have the District Accountability Committee review of site plans and unified improvement plans. Superintendent Haber.
Yes, Dr. Phil.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to introduce Jolynn Patterson, our Director for Assessment, along with Shane Knight, who is our Director for Curriculum and Instruction. What did I say?
Nothing.
Okay. Both of these two leaders in the Learning Services Department have taken on the role of leaders of our accreditation subcommittee for DAC, and they led our annual review of UIPs and site plans back in November, and they're going to give you a quick report.
All right, thank you guys for having us today. So oh, you want to go ahead?
No, I don't know. Do you want to click?
Yeah. So the
Hit
district the District Accountability Committee is one of the few committees standing committees that the board has. There are 11 charges from the board for this committee. I can read those real briefly. The first is to help support spending priorities for the district's site's discretionary money, to advise the Board of Education of any district performance improvement, priority improvement, or turnaround plans. We don't have any of those. Any new charter school applications to be reviewed, and again, we haven't had those for a while. To form an accreditation subcommittee for specific outcomes, which we'll talk about today. There's also additional budget subcommittee. There's an annual review of each school's UIP and site plan, which we'll talk about today. The accreditation committee provides feedback on educator effectiveness as it relates to student achievement. And the committee considers feedback from each school's accreditation committee concerning the principal evaluations. Provides feedback on the district's conduct and discipline code, and helps support parental involvement. And we use the collaborative input model as our process. So the subcommittee has 12 members, 5 of which are parents, 3 from community members, 4 representatives from charter schools, and then there's the 2 administrators from the district. That's Jolynn and I. And then the subcommittee has roles, and our roles are to lead the we call just the big DAC. So the District Accreditation Committee, which has lots of members from schools throughout the whole district. We represent that. We lead the big DAC in reviewing each school's UIP and their site plans and their performance. We facilitate this through small group reviews in each feeder strand. And Jolynn will talk a little bit about what that looks like in a little bit. We provide a written report to principals on the feedback that are providing the principals feedback on their UIP and their site plan, and then review the accreditation handbook continuously throughout the whole process. The subcommittee met 3 times this fall prior to our November review date. They were divided into 8 groups with co-facilitators, and then on November 28th, we met to debrief the process we went through on November 14th. And then we also just continually review the accreditation handbook.
So during this process, the principals the principals presented in small teams to these small groups of our DAC members, and there were 4 questions we are looking closely at. So the principals do have this information ahead of time so that they can come prepared and be thoughtful about their presentations. So the 4 questions were, how has the school included knowledge and skills in their site plan? How has the school included character development and social emotional learning in the site plan? How does the site plan and UIP align to support students? So we're looking for that connection between the plans. And then what else do you want to share about your school? And what's really fun about this and interesting is our committee members are super engaged in this work, and they ask probing questions. Several of them have served for several years, and so they'll come back and they'll be like, oh wow, it's fun to see what's happened next or see the work that our schools are doing. So our members are super supportive of our schools and principals, and they really are excited for us as a team to hear information about the schools where their children attend and where they're proud to be a part of our community. Thank you. It's hard to turn the page and click. No. Then the feedback portion, and so that we go through the template with our principals and give them that information. We also provide them information on recurring themes, concepts, or ideas that have come through the review, or possible accommodations, recommendations, and challenge and stretch thinking. And our committee members really ask challenging questions of our principals. And we have moved in the last, I want to say 2 or 3 years, we moved to more of a feeder model so that we start with the elementaries to the middle and the high school. And so our feeder strands are sharing out. And so they're starting to hear and listen to trends and practices that they're working on, not only at their school, but maybe the elementary where those students will feed into the middle school and the high school as well. Thank you. And then this is very much a reflective process. So principals, like I shared, were prepared to share meaningful information about their schools. Parents very much. So we spent a lot of time doing feedback with the subcommittee, and we also did feedback with Big DAC, as I've fondly started to coin it. I'm like, which DAC are we talking about? Little DAC or Big DAC? And so being able to listen to feedback from everyone that participated regarding changes that they might like to see in the future, what went really well. The principals really liked having those questions ahead of time so they know what they're responding to, at least for the basic pieces. And then as always, everyone's always a little concerned we don't have enough time. Can we get more time? Can we want more time with the groups? Because it's a very action-packed day. And so actually today, Susan, Shane, and I had met together and we were talking about the potential of being able to add minutes, not lots of time, but to the process so we'd have a little more time with each of the groups. And so we've already started planning for next year. As you know, no rest for the weary around here. And then what kind of themes come out? So it's interesting because we have all these different feeder strands in different schools, but what's nice to see is a lot of the big focuses that we're focusing on as a district that are part of the strategic plan, that are part of the UIP, are being mirrored in this process. And so professional learning communities are a huge piece, and that's a huge piece. Even this week, our learning services leadership team has started to do some more work together. We're doing a book study. I have 47 pages to read. No, in between for next week so that we can continue discussions and build on that knowledge and information. Utilization of student data, which of course, you know, makes my heart very happy as your assessment person, but watching over the 9 years I've been able to serve, how much we've grown in that area of just not collecting the data, but really starting to look at that and how can we help and support kids. Interventions and extensions. So how are we helping kids? Part of the MTSS process. Behavior supports. And what's nice is as a district, we've put a lot of supports in place in the last year or two around behavior, and seeing some of those trends and some of those challenges becoming more reasonable, I guess is the word I'm going to choose, and not so overbearing for us. Sources of strength. So that's one of our SEL programs at our middle schools and high schools. And then partnering with parents. There's always tons of sharing out of opportunities where parents and families have been able to come to schools. One of them that I remember from Encompass Heights, that they do birthday celebrations and things that they're able to share as a school. And then student involvement, of course, we want that as well, and we're appreciative of that. So I think.
Do you have any questions or anything we can help support?
Thank you so much.
It's like a talk show.
Board, any questions or comments? I will say I got some positive feedback out of DAC member reach out to me and just told me how much they enjoyed the process and the level of detail and feedback that the principals were able to provide. They were blown away, and also echoed, hey, there wasn't nearly enough time. I wanted to sit there and talk to them for a long time. So glad to hear we have minutes more.
We might. I had to argue with Shane on it. I'm like, if you're here till 1, what's the difference if we stay till 2?
That's great rationale.
Because we appreciate our volunteers and we want to use their time. Most of these people are volunteers or they're taking time away from work. So we want to be aware of that, but
there are also parents that want to get their kids dropped off to school and pick them up. I think the beauty of this, generally our principals want the parents to pick the kids up.
This is why we work collaboratively. No.
But all in all, this being my first year here and being from the outside, it's really wonderful to see how deeply involved our DAC is in not just in the schools, but also in the oversight of the schools and the trust they have, but also the accountability that they bring to the principals to make sure that they're living the vision that you all have set forth and that our parents expect and deserve and that our students expect and deserve. And to have such an open forum for principals to come in and spend 15 minutes saying, these are the things I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it, and for the parents to ask really thoughtful, probing questions and push them. And over the years, it was interesting for me to sit in mind. I had the Rampart range or the Rampart feeder system. And for the parents to say, well, I remember 3 years ago, this is what the principal is working on. And it's great to see the progress they've made. And I can see that. And then to hear how the elementary schools lead into the middle school, leading into the high school, and the parents being able to recognize that the efforts that my kindergartner was in 6 years ago are now seen at Mountain Ridge. And then the parents saying, well, I noticed that at Mountain Ridge, my kid was doing this. And it's great to see that at Rampart, that's being continued. And so that was really powerful piece of this process that I think we have a strength and a unique strength in our district with this process.
I couldn't agree more. In my work with CASB over the last 3 years or so, I know I've heard lots of laments from other districts where their DAC is almost like pulling teeth, and it's something that I just can't relate to. We have an incredible DAC here, plenty of wonderful volunteers that give of their time, and they just do a phenomenal job. And the fact that we're able to keep DAC members for such a long time gives some of that longevity that you're speaking to, as far as 3 years ago, 4 years ago, in that process. So wonderful. Thank you.
Good.
Oh, Ms. Yanez.
As the board liaison to DAC, I love to be with you all during that meeting too.
Yes.
I was on DAC as a parent when I had kids at Woodman Roberts. And at that time, we didn't have principals come in and talk to during the process. It was just all on paper. And how dynamic now the process is to have that relationship piece sitting across from each other at the desk and being able to ask questions and hear directly from the people that care so much about their schools. So I've really enjoyed that piece of it tremendously. I got to sit with the Chinook, Pine Creek, Chinook Trail Middle, Chinook Trail Elementary, Ranch Creek crew there. And I had to leave and I kept saying, I need to go. And I stayed because the conversations were awesome. The questions were terrific. And there was just a sense that we're all for this district And when there's, something that we need to talk about, like, hey, what is being done with it? There's just a real sense of camaraderie and openness to those things. And it was a pleasure to see.
That's great.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Later. Mr. Belcher, how many people do we have signed up to speak during public comment session number 1?
8 speakers.
All right. Thank you. The board welcomes the comments of our community members, and we greatly value all comments from the public, but in order to adhere to board policy and accomplish the work already on the agenda, the board and superintendent will not respond at the meeting. Speakers may offer appreciation for or criticism of school operations and programs as concerns them, but are encouraged to exercise their speech rights responsibly as they are personally responsible for any legal consequences attributable to their comments, including claims of defamation. Please keep in mind that students often attend board meetings. Speakers' remarks, therefore, should be suitable for an audience that includes kindergarten through 12th grade students, including no use of profanities or obscenities. Comments concerning personnel matters should be directed to the superintendent or board president in writing with your signature. Supplemental written materials can be given to the security guards and they will be delivered to the board secretary. The board president will recognize each speaker, and consistent with GP 4.4, comments will be curtailed if remarks or behavior becomes inappropriate. The board president may interrupt, warn, or terminate a speaker's statement that is unrelated to the business of the school district, inappropriate for K-12 students, or disruptive to an orderly, civil, and productive meeting. Thank you for your cooperation. Mr. Belcher.
Our first 3 speakers are Elizabeth Guthrie, Connor Lesh, and Safran Stevens. You're welcome to come up one at a time.
My name is Elizabeth Guthrie. The last time I was in this room was on November 16th, 2023. I had planned to speak that evening but had a panic attack when I spotted my abuser in the crowd and had to leave. The only reason why I am here tonight is because Derek Wilburn is not. Since that night, my mom has done everything in her power to protect me from experiencing that kind of anxiety again. On the other hand, none of you have done anything to protect me. Students in D20 are held to much higher standards than you hold each other. What does that tell your students? Bullying is supposedly bad, but you all agree with Derek Wilburn continuing to bully our family. What does that say to students? I hope you all protect your own kids much better than you protect the students of D20. Thank you so much for helping me feel safe.
Next up is Connor Lesh, followed by Safran Stevens and Danetta Guthrie.
Hello, my name is Connor Lesh, and I'm a freshman at Pine Creek. 47:11. This is the timestamp on the video in which Mr. Wilburn says some extremely inappropriate, crude, and explicit words during the student-led candidate forum from October 2023. The video on which this is done is still up on the official Academy District 20 YouTube channel to view today. Not saying that it should be deleted, as some good points were made by the other candidates, but I believe that these words especially should at least be censored, because at the moment, anyone with access to the internet could stumble upon it unassumingly, and that could cause a lot of drama. His warning is that he doesn't curse and is going to say something that he hasn't said for 30 years, which kind of implies that he said it before. The quotes he read involved explicit material, which I won't go into detail because of the graphic nature of his words. There were many young children, including myself, being only 13 at the time. Now almost 15, I have not forgotten what he said. I went home that night with many questions that my parents were not ready for me to have yet. This was the first real experience that I had at listening firsthand to explicit content, and there were many people much younger than me. He tore away the rights of every parent in that room to protect their children from everything that was heard. He also tore away this right from the 1,200 people listening at home, some most likely with their families. They saw a live feed of him saying these awful things. The books he referenced are in high schools, where a student might be a bit more prepared and can make the choice for themselves if they want to read about these things. This makes his argument even more invalid. Many students look up to teachers, admin, and staff as role models.
Can you turn his mic back on? If you can finish quickly for students. All right, thank you.
It truly disappoints me that Mr. Wilburn is willing to say these things without even an apology, as it sets an indignant example for all the students in the district.
Next up is Safran Stevens, followed by Danetta Guthrie and Bernadette Pittman.
Hello, I'm Safran, a current senior at Pine Creek High School, and I had the privilege of hosting a student-led candidate forum for the most recent school board election. It was an incredible opportunity to foster dialogue and allow the community to engage with the candidates. But unfortunately, the events that have unfolded since then compel me to speak out, not just as a student, but as a member of this community who values transparency, accountability, and the principles of democracy. During the campaign, one candidate made headlines for reading explicit material to children during a public event, which I thought was funny, especially considering the comments made by the board before this meeting, before the comment section, that it had to be appropriate through a K-12 audience. Many people at this forum found these comments deeply inappropriate. When given the chance to address community concerns, this candidate refused to acknowledge or apologize for the impact of their actions. Despite this controversy, they were elected to the school board. Their election underscores the power of every vote and the critical importance of informed decision-making in our democratic process. Now, as a member of the school board, this individual is suing a constituent for defamation over public criticism of their actions. This is not just concerning, it's dangerous. Public officials are entrusted with serving their communities, not silencing them. When a person in power uses their position to stifle dissent or punish free speech, it sets a chilling precedent. It sends a message that criticizing those in authority could come with personal or legal consequences, discouraging the open exchange of ideas that is vital to a healthy democracy. This situation is a stark reminder of the importance of electing leaders who prioritize the well-being of the community over their own interests. It is a call to all of us, students, parents, and citizens alike, to stay engaged, to ask questions, and to hold our elected officials to the highest standard. Because at the end of the day, public service is not about power. It's about trust, integrity, and the responsibility to serve the people. Thank you.
Next up is Danetta Guthrie, followed by Bernadette Pittman, and then Jackie Lesh.
All right, and as our next speakers are making their way up, now that our students are done, I'm going to remind everyone that we need to hold our applause, please, so that we can move through this quickly. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Donita Guthrie. I'm going to cry now. I'm the grandparent of 2 District 20 children, one of whom was traumatized and victimized by Derek Wilburn on 10/3/2023. I was a very active participant in the first recall polis effort, my reason being the passing of the comprehensive sex ed bill. I was very concerned with young children being exposed to inappropriate sexual material in schools. I raised these concerns with my daughter-in-law at that time, and she assured me that in my grandchildren's school, School District 20, that parents always have a choice about what their kids are exposed to and the opportunity to opt out of any curriculum of books that families deem inappropriate. I was appalled when I learned of this event that so gravely affected my granddaughter. It is not uncommon for shady tactics to be utilized when campaigning. However, reading graphic sexual material about rape and incest to small children at a student event is far beyond shady political tactics. It's unscrupulous. This might seem off topic for a moment, but bear with me. I lost a sister to domestic violence. At sentencing during my victim impact statement, I was instructed by the judge that I could not address her murderers directly, or her murderer directly. As then, and as I see it now, in this situation, we have a First Amendment right to freedom of speech, the freedom to address those that have harmed us and our loved ones directly. The First Amendment gave this man the right to verbally assault the innocence of my granddaughter.
Thank you. Your time is up. It is not our policy.
Next up is Bernadette Pittman, followed by Jackie Lesh, and then Laura Furia.
My name is Bernadette Pittman. I'm a D20 resident and grandparent. I attended the student forum at Chinook Elementary School on October 4th, 2023, with my then 11-year-old granddaughter. We sat in the front row, and with the bar as a barrier in front of our row, we were literally a captive audience. I witnessed my grandchild having her innocence stripped from her that night, and the subsequent trauma she has experienced. Several weeks later, I had to remove her from this very room when she saw the man who traumatized her and had a panic attack as a result. My daughter has spent the last 15 months trying to protect my granddaughter while all of you sat there silently. Now this man has drawn up a frivolous lawsuit to sue the parent of the child he hurt because he wants everyone to forget what he did. We won't forget. We won't let anyone else forget. The embarrassment Derek Wilburn has brought to the district I've resided in for over 30 years cannot be understated, and it's your duty to address this conduct and insist on his immediate resignation as he is unfit to serve. Thank you.
Next up is Jackie Lesh, followed by Laura Furia, and then Becky Rame.
Hi, my name is Jackie Lesh. I'm here as an individual, as a parent of 3 kids in District 20. I want to address the violations of Mr. Wilburn that were at the student-led candidate forum at the Chinook Trail Middle School. He chose to read graphic and explicit passages in front of a lot of young children. My son, who was in middle school at the time, was in attendance. I was actually in the hallway chatting with a few people while it was going on, and he was sitting inside, and I could hear everything in the hallway that was being said, and he was sitting in there by himself because I expected it to be a G-rated candidate forum. When he read those things, he took away the rights of the parents and the audience to decide if they wanted their children to be exposed to the material. All of this happened before he officially became a D20 board member, yet his actions of allowing his conduct to endanger the public's image of the district, putting his personal positions and views at the forefront, have not been addressed. And he has not followed the code of conduct by making an effort to protect the integrity and positive image of our district. One example of this is he's suing a D20 parent for speaking out against him, being truthful about his poor misconduct. Threatening district parents with lawsuits does not promote confidence in the D20 board, and it feels as though parents are being imitated and silenced if we speak out in defense of our children and our community. D20 parents, students, and staff deserve public leaders who will act with integrity and respect. We teach our children not to bully others, yet you are trying to bully the parents into silence through your frivolous lawsuits. We will not be bullied by you. Thanks.
Next up is Laura Furia, followed by Becky Rame.
Please hold your pause in between speakers. Thank you.
Hello. Tonight, I would like to address the fact that there seems to be little interest on the part of you all to adhere to and enforce board policies about appropriate board member behavior and conflicts of interest. I know that GP 4.12 was originally going to be deemed in compliance tonight, but citizens reported direct conflicts that happened over this last year, at which point Mrs. Collins agreed to review the breaches and how they had been dealt with. I do appreciate that. Regardless of which specific policy number aligns with the violations, it's important to note that they did happen. In my opinion and that of many others, asking board members to stop using their D20 board member status and anything outside of the district itself is a reasonable request after one violation. We humans make mistakes. However, repeatedly using your title afterwards is grounds for removal. Mr. Wilburn, your recent actions warrant scrutiny. I understand that you've been dealing with some medical issues and may not have had the time or energy to attend many meetings or other school events, but here we are with you spending time on a lawsuit against a parent for simply asking you to apologize for reading inappropriate book excerpts in front of young children. Mr. Salt, how did you let this get so out of hand? You should have immediately condemned the behavior and made him apologize at the very least. When it comes to conflicts of interest, Mr. Salt, you're an egregious offender. How are you allowed to serve here while working for Woodland Park Schools? If you do your job there any justice, then you are over there every day of the week, which means you have little time to see what's going on in our district. In addition, you are on the Board of Trustees for PPLD, where you recently voted to close Rock Rimmon Library despite overwhelming upset by the community and many offers of solutions to keeping it open, including over $60,000 pledged by taxpayers. This has directly negatively impacted many D20 families. That could go in a textbook to describe what a conflict of interest is. I had much more to say, but I'm running out of time, so thank you.
Finally, Becky Rame.
I hate public speaking, but I hate hypocrites even more. I'm here tonight to speak on the hypocrisy Derek Wilburn is showing to a parent in this district. I had plans to attend the student-led board debate in October 2023. It was being held at Chinook Trail Middle School. I mentioned it to my son, who at the time was a sixth grader there. We had been talking about elections and the democratic process. I thought it would be a great opportunity for him to see all this in real time. I'm so glad he ended up not going. The debate was organized and put on by students in the district. They were asking fantastic questions and moderating with a maturity level I marveled at. In the mix of questions ranging from parents' choice to the MLO measure, a question about book banning came up. All of the candidates shared their views and insights on the topic. When it got to Mr. Wilburn, he made a choice I cannot to this day comprehend. He began reading very explicit passages from the novel Push by Sapphire. Having read the book myself, as well as seeing the movie, I recognized his intent. He was taking passages that were meant to share a larger narrative about the struggles of a young girl experiences, but ends up overcoming as shock value. He was reading words that were meant for mature ears and mindset to kids as young as 9. He was taking away the access of parent choice right in front of us, a platform he was heavily running on. Aside from shock, I was embarrassed for him. I highly doubted he took the time to read a beautiful and acclaimed piece of work that taught resilience and encouraged empathy and compassion for such a strong character. I'm ashamed that this man was elected to represent parents and students in this district. I'm ashamed and angry he is taking his power out on Miss Guthrie because of his poor choices. I am so glad my son was not there that night to witness what happened, and I hope both of my children are never around him in the future. Thank you.
We need a motion to approve Resolution 17-25 mid-year budget update for fiscal year 2024-2025.
Moved.
Second.
Discussion, please. Superintendent Haber.
Deputy Becky Allen.
Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing me a few minutes here to give you an overview of the mid-year budget. As you're aware, the mid-year budget is your chance to kind of write and true up the budget that was adopted all the way back in May, before we even started this school year. So remember, it has some variables in there that we do our best to try to identify, but it sure is tough to be 100% right. You have things like student count. You have your exact assessed valuation pieces from the taxes. All of those types of pieces, the exact per pupil revenue, things that have changed since the beginning of the school year. So state statute gives school districts the opportunity to create a mid-year budget, bring it to the Board of Education prior to the end of January to again write those variables and go ahead and update the budget to better accurately reflect what's happening. Keep in mind, we're starting to work on the budget for next year, and we'll be bringing that to you in May. So I just have a few executive summary types of pieces here. And if I skip over something that you have a question about, please don't hesitate to let me know. So what I'm going to do is just kind of walk you through some of the four main components that change in the mid-year budget. The first big one is, how did we end last year, right? How much unassigned fund balance did we have? What were our actual expenses? Because again, at May, when this was brought to you, we certainly didn't have a conclusion to last year's fiscal year yet. So on these different pages, I just highlighted a few of the pieces that I thought might bring the most interest. Again, though, if you have questions about others, I'm more than happy to take it. So the big piece on here, this is looking at how did we end last year, because that ending point becomes the starting point for this year. One of the big pieces that I highlighted here is how we ended with our unassigned fund balance. So we had a higher amount than what we had budgeted by $13.1 million. That blue box at the bottom of that slide gives you the main reasons of why that was. I want to call one specifically to your attention. Remember that when we budget for positions for staff, we budget that they're full and that they're working the entire year. And we know one of the major challenges that not only District 20, but other school districts, not only in Colorado, but across the nation are facing are shortages in various positions, teaching positions, special education positions, etc. And the main piece that we saw in the difference there was about $9.7 million attributed to positions being unfilled, not necessarily for the entire year, portions of the year, and some significant amounts of time. And so I want to be sure that that $9.7 million, I don't look at that as an exciting savings, if you will. It's a reflection of the status that we're in right now and the challenges that Mr. Smart and his team have in hiring and retaining our staff. But that is an important piece to that 13.1 million, and the other pieces are there as well. The next big variable is, how did our student enrollment change? You probably have seen, again, a trend over the last several years of declining enrollment in many public school districts. It seems following the pandemic that, many families, some their students are educated at home, some are in different types of non-traditional programs, and so that certainly has an impact on enrollment. While District 20 still, we have many students coming to see us, we have some slight decreases. This first slide shows you a comparison with the prior year. So what you're looking at in that rightmost column, you may have seen it on the news too. They highlighted District 49 and District 20 as two of the largest school districts in the county. And you probably heard that District 20's total headcount enrollment declined by 38 as compared to last year. And that's what you see on this slide. On the next one, we compare to the guesses that we had for our enrollment, and you can see that we were higher than our guess by 65. But when you see the breakdown by non-charters and charters, you will see that the bulk of that gain was at TCA. So of course, all of these numerical true-ups go into this budget that we've presented to you this evening. The next slide shows some summaries of changes to revenue. One of the ones that I want to just call out to you is in blue there. We continue to have high interest as we have the interest rates that are high, and that's a good way to bring certainly additional revenue. We certainly don't put our money into the stock market or anything risky. These are safe investments. But one of the requirements of our ELs is that we be good, responsible stewards and invest that money in safe investments. The other one that I want to go ahead and point out to you is in yellow. As you know, we are on that journey to rebuild Air Academy High School and Douglas Valley. Air Academy High School, now because the bond has passed, those are the funds that will source those matching funds for that project. Douglas Valley, on the other hand, we made a commitment from the beginning that it's about $12.3 million is the amount that we need for match. And we said we are going to buckle down, tighten our belts as best we can, and save those funds. So in that line in yellow, we are almost done with the building fund for the 2016 bond. Right now, the board contingency as of the end of December is about 3.9 million. We're just about done with all the projects. The transportation facility is our last big project, and we only have about $1,400 left of unspent funds for that project because we're on pace for spending what we need to. For one of our IT infrastructure line items, we still have 2.3 million in unobligated dollars. We also have adequate dollars called our project management to take care of our salaries for our building fund for the rest of this year. Because when we get to July 1, 2016 bond will be done. We will start to have a building fund team that's funded out of the new bond. So what this is doing is saying, look, our recommendation is that we take 3 million of the unspent board contingency dollars out of the building fund and move it into our PSMI reserve for Douglas Valley. The good news is that will fully fund that project from the matching stance. Unless we were to hit unexpected increases over what we've projected, that would give us the 20%. So that's what that line means. At the bottom of this slide, you see some of the critical components that make up some of the changes with our total program funding. And what you will see is important that I want to point out. It'll come back again as I just highlight some of the things coming up with our budget preparations for next year. Something called multi-year averaging for our student counts. And I'll talk about that again. What you see in this mid-year budget does reflect averaging. It's where the state, instead of looking at one snapshot, 1 year of enrollment, looks over multiple years. And that always typically helps school districts. And so that is reflected in this budget. The next slide is going to look at the expenses. So what are we saying that we'd like to have as expenses reflected in this mid-year budget? The first one I'd like to point out is the one towards the top in blue. So very important reason that I highlighted why we have the additional fund balance from last year. Well over $9 million is attributed to the shortages that we've seen in our positions. And I have to tell you that every staff member in this district has a hand in, despite us having those vacancies, they rise to the occasion every day to pick up something else for a colleague, to help get that sub, to get their lesson plans. Everyone bears that additional load when we have these shortages. And so what we are saying, and I know that that you've been instrumental in this, is saying that we want to recognize our staff with a one-time payment. And with your approval, those checks would literally start printing tonight to get to our staff. Full-time staff, $1,250. Between half and full-time, $1,000. And for under half-time, $750 to say, we know this was a burden. We know you went above and beyond. We know despite those challenges, we are accredited with distinction. And that is not by luck. That is by the hard work, the grit, the fortitude, the positive attitudes of our staff. Next, I want to point out in green, just an example that we continue to have expenses, especially associated with special education. We've shared with you that some of those vacancies, we have to go to contractors to fill those positions. That's a more expensive proposition. We actually have these dollars here listed as recurring expenses, but I want to let you know of a change. Not really material from your perspective, but things that we always have to be considering. Just this week, yesterday, the legislative session convened at the state capitol, and they are facing a challenging legislative session. The state budget is just under $1 billion in a shortfall. And so when we look at this expense, we had it in the recurring column, but we continue to hear signals that it is going to be an extremely challenging budget season. So we are going to make that change. We'll still fund it, but we're going to do one-time funding. because we really need to be conservative in how we approach things. We don't necessarily have the ability to go ahead and secure funding year after year for some of the positions that we're adding for specific student needs that could be one time. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not going to meet those needs next year, but we're looking at possible one-time needs with one-time money because it's the most conservative approach. Down, and this one, Mrs. Shandy, is for you. We have an adjustment in for the board election fees, but would you know it, we had our budget submitted and the fee came even less than what we thought it was going to be. So you'll have some unspent funds, but it'll come to the unassigned fund balance. A big one, we had a school resource allocation committee, a large scale stakeholder committee. It met for over a year. And we identified areas where schools were really lacking in some funding. One of the big areas was custodial supplies. Those allocations, I don't know when they first started, but well before my time as CFO, and I started in 2019. We know, right, just toilet paper. That's gotten more expensive over the years. Well, you can imagine. So we would like to give the schools an additional $7,000 a year to help with just those extended expenses, because it will help them target more of their funding on the classroom and the needs for their students. The final one I want to mention on this is the blue at the bottom. We are so pleased that in one-time dollars, we can make a $5 million, about $5.2 million transfer to our capital reserve account. We know that we have a lot of facility needs, and that will give them additional money to make much needed improvements for our schools. So let's see now what does this look like in brass tacks in our mid-year budget? What does this mean? So some of the pieces that you see here, these are our projections for ending fund balances at the end of this year. At the very bottom in yellow, you will see a staff leave buyback reserve that we started. And so we have a program now in November where if families, or excuse me, it's October, if some of our staff members have a certain amount of staff leave that's been built up, they can get a payout for that. We are consolidating the dollars and putting it in one blue line called employee benefit programs. Please hear me, especially if staff are listening. The staff leave buyback is well off, it's strong, it's continuing. We're just simply consolidating. We're continuing to think about employee benefit programs, so we're trying to just put some additional dollars. We're adding over $300,000 to this just in anticipation of thinking of more ways that we can afford to honor our staff. The PSMI program, again, that just shows, I know it says 10.6 million, but please know the money that's been invested in that is our 12.3. That reflects some spending. Risk-related activities, experts in the risk management industry would look at our replacement value of all of our properties and say we need about 8 million in reserve. We're trying, we're up to 5 million. And student support staffing is something brand new. So because we have needs to support our students, whether they're in special education or in general education, sometimes there are needs that come up that we simply do not anticipate. And sometimes those are one-time needs. So we're putting some money aside to have a better reaction time for perhaps an interventionist, perhaps another student support for a student. Again, these are one time, but we really want to try to continue to nurture these reserves each year during the mid-year. So where does that put us with our unassigned fund balance? That's often a really good marker of where are we. Remember that policy requires us to hold an unassigned fund balance between 4 and 12%. We have always been on the upper end of that. With all of these things I've showed you this evening, this would put us at an unassigned fund balance of 10.7%. So just 1.3% less than our maximum. Any questions for me?
Board, any questions? All right.
I have a question, a comment, not so much a question, Mr. Salt.
Mr. Wilburn.
Ms. Allen, I just want to give you credit, you and your team, and I think it's important that the board, the staff, and certainly our constituents in the district hear this. This is going back, not so much dealing with the report you just gave us, but to monitoring report for EL 2.4 back in consent. I noticed something in there that was really interesting. Somewhere in that report, there was mention made that staff at a school had split payment. This is for the lower limit P card, the $1,000 P card. There were split payments made, one for something like $515, one for $506 or something like that. So the split payments were $20 higher than the P card allotment. And the other one also in October was the $10,000 card, but it was a similar situation. It was a couple expenditures, ended up being a couple of $100. And you mentioned it in the report and stated, this is in here just in the interest of transparency.
Yes.
And for an organization with a budget like D20, that isn't even a rounding error. I mean, it's $20. But the fact that your team put that in there brings it to the board's attention, brings it to the public's attention that, hey, we screwed it up, we corrected it. It was only $20, but we did the right thing. I really just want you to know how much I appreciate the fact that you and your team pay attention and hold yourselves to that level of accountability.
I can't thank you enough for those kind words. The team I work with are amazing. And I also can't adequately express how much we take our responsibility to treat this money better than if it were our own. We're always going to take the honest path. We're always going to be transparent. We don't know another way. And I have just the most incredible team. And so thank you for honoring them with those kind words. I truly appreciate it.
Right. Any other comments? All right. Thank you, Ms. Allen. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons,
Aye.
Mrs. Shandy,
Aye.
Mr. Wilburn,
Aye.
Mrs. Yanez,
Aye.
Mr. Salt.
Aye. All right. Thank you, board. Next, we need a motion to approve Resolution 18-25 parameters resolution for Series 2025 general bond or general obligation bonds.
Moved.
Second.
Discussion, please, Ms. Haber.
Deputy Allen.
I'm just going to sneak one other thing. Thank you. And a wonderful message is about to go out. I know that is from you and from Superintendent Haber. So we're going to hit send on that and share all of that exciting news with our staff, and they will appreciate it so much. Thank you. So as you know, our bond was approved by our voters on November 5th. And we had a board work session on November 14th, and we talked about how are we going to issue these bonds? And we talked about the need to do 2 issuances, because once we sell bonds, you have to be able to spend 85% within 3 years. And Air Academy High School, we can't make that. We're not ready for that. We've got other steps ahead. So what we are going to do is have one issuance of 36.14 in the paperwork. It says not to exceed 37 million for the non-charter school projects, things like the turf field at Rampart High School, the bathroom renovations, etc., non-charter, the projects for the charters, and then 2 million for design of Air Academy High School. You say that's it, 2 million? Remember, it's about 10 million to design. The federal government will cover 8 million, we'll cover 2. That's where that number comes from. These are the projects that we estimate we can complete 85% within 3 years. We will have a separate issuance, most likely in 2027, but that could change based on the pace of the work with public schools on military installations for the remaining dollars, a maximum of 47 million. But if for some reason, I'm making this up, we only need 46 million, as we discussed at the work session, then that's what we'll issue. We're going to leave that other million on the table. We'll see what happens. Whenever I mention this, people laugh at me and say, Beck, are you serious? It's going to be cheap. I don't know. I always stay positive and want to be transparent of what that would look like. But be confident those 2 issuance will not exceed 83.14. So before you, we're presenting, it's called the parameters. Basically, what's the criteria that you say, Superintendent Haber or Becky Allen, you can sell these bonds at a maximum of 37 million. So all of the paperwork that you have, one of them is called the series bond resolution. It says we can't go over 37 million. It lays out all the restrictions on how much we can pay back each year, how much total it can take to repay the whole 83 million. It makes sure we don't exceed any of those limits. We can't exceed 60.216 mils. It also gives the authority to Superintendent Haber and myself, although we are estimating to sell the bonds in February, let's just say something completely unforeseen happened, and for whatever reason it caused a delay. These documents give 1 year's worth of authority. And please know, if it changed that significantly, we would be coming back to the Board of Education. But it's granted in that way just to allow for that flexibility. But I want to stress that this opens the door for us to sell the bonds. Again, if something unexpected happened and we decided, whoa, we're not moving forward with issuing the bonds, that's okay. This paperwork allows us to execute it. It does not force us to do so. There are other accompanying documents in there in an attachment, very lengthy. You'll notice they're not all filled out. There's some blanks. Some of the information we don't know yet, and we won't know until we sell the bonds. All of these paperwork, please don't think that I have the skill set to draw all these papers up. This is our bond counsel that works with us. This is Dan O'Connell, who you've met. And all of these documents, obviously, except for the figures that won't be determined until the day we sell the bonds, will be filled out when it's time. Any questions for me on this?
Board? All right. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons,
Aye.
Mrs. Shandy,
Aye.
Mr. Wilburn,
Aye.
Mrs. Yanez,
Aye.
Mr. Salt.
Aye. All right. Thanks for being on, Mr. O'Connell and Salen.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
All right, next we need a motion to approve Resolution 19-25, approval of real estate purchase agreement between Academy District 20 and City of Colorado Springs for Cumbre Vista School Site. I got it.
Moved. Second.
Discussion, please, Superintendent Haber.
Yes, Deputy Allen.
Back in September, we had an item, just an information-only item, told you about a parcel of land, 5.75 acres, that we own in the Cumbre Vista area. It is not a piece of land that we need. One, it would be too small for an elementary school. 5.75, we need more like 12 acres for an elementary school. But with all the development that's happened in the Wolf Ranch area, in terms of the Legacy Peak site, we simply don't need the land. I will tell you too, although we have agreements that show that we're not responsible for maintaining the land, I will tell you there is some frustration from folks in the neighborhood. They think we maintain it, and we tell it. I think they'd like it to look a little different than it does. I'll just say that with all kindness. So because of statute, city code, not state, the Parks Department of Colorado Springs has the first right to purchase that land. And you said, you know, Becky, we're interested in pursuing that. So we have pursued that. And the biggest thing was going to be the money. So it's interesting. I shared this last time. School land is valued at about $76,000 per acre. Parks land is valued at about $137,000 per acre. And so when we started the negotiation with the city, we said, you need to come back with at least that parks rate. And they did. They came back with that at a full amount. So if we were to sell this parcel, it's about $790,000. That would go towards our capital improvements for our district. Now, what this agreement is not the closing paperwork. It is the agreement telling the city the board would like to move forward with this transaction, and they will start to draw up all of the papers. We would still come back with one more presentation prior to closing with all the final documents. Maybe March or April, but you know, sometimes things can be delayed, but that's the big picture of what would come next. So if you were to approve yes, Mr. Salt, you would have the authority to sign this agreement. We'd give it to the city, they'd take it to city council, things would progress. And then at some point later this spring, I would come back again with the final closing documents. They would be signed and there would be a closing just like you do on a home. And again, the proceeds would be just under $800,000. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple. So I'm not familiar with commercial. This is certainly not familiar with governmental. This is, oh, I lost my place. Give me 5 seconds. So we really don't have any obligations other than to be sure to certify that the property is free of encumbrances. That should be no problem. There is an environmental clause, so I presume there's some testing and what have you, further presume that that is out of the city's pocket and it doesn't come off at the closing table. And lastly, contract is written such that closing shall not be later than
June.
Sometime in late June, if I remember correctly, which seems a pretty long horizon.
And I spoke with them about that. And to be honest, they don't think it will take that long, but they said, Becky, let's just give us that amount of time so we don't need to come back and ask for another agreement, because we'd have to amend this agreement and get it signed. So that was their thought. They're optimistic it will be sooner, but they wanted to leave that in.
Well, tell them we think in another 6 months, it'll appreciate 12%.
That's right. Well, they'll have to also appreciate their parks value acreage, but we keep bringing that up, and that school land needs to be valued much more.
Okay, do we have any idea, and I don't think we do, when they will conduct their environmental studies and what that looks like?
When we go ahead and give them the agreement, then they will start to, and just very similar to when you buy or sell a home, you know, there'll be a title piece, they'll be looking, are there any liens? They'll start to do those pieces, almost like analogous to when you have a home inspection. And so those things will start to kick off. And if for some reason, you know, we couldn't move forward with this. Tanya Thompson was a part of this process. It's clause 3.1 on page 5, that we have a limit on what the amount of money that we would have to, you know, lose, or we would have very little loss in that vein. And again, we certainly are not aware Don Smith is involved with this as well. You know, the longevity he has with our properties. He is fully on board and glad to sell this because, again, we don't have a use for it. We do have people that bring up a concern about how it's maintained, and it brings us almost $800,000 in revenue that we can use for our facilities.
Yeah, I'm a yes vote. I think it's a no-brainer, and it's almost free money. The only potential roadblock, and I guess we'll find out as soon as we find out, is what this environmental survey might look like. Do we have the mud-bellied sapsuckers habitation there and all that stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's a park just adjacent to it. So we hope if that was healthy, you know, this land is right there and they're literally going to expand that park. So it'll be good for the community.
Any other questions, board? All right, roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons?
Aye.
Mrs. Shandy?
Aye.
Mr. Wilburn?
Aye.
Mrs. Yanez?
Aye.
Mr. Salt?
Aye. All right, next is public comment section number 2. Mr. Belcher, how many people have signed up to speak during public comment number 2?
13 speakers.
Thank you. The board president will recognize each speaker, and consistent with GP 4.4, comments will be curtailed if remarks or behavior becomes inappropriate. The board president may interrupt, warn, or terminate a speaker's statement that is unrelated to the business of the school district, inappropriate for K-12 students, or disruptive to an orderly, civil, and productive meeting. Also going to make one last reminder, please do not applaud or make noise in between speakers. If that happens again, we will clear the room. With that, thank you, Mr. Belcher.
Our first 3 speakers are Jim Pittman, Aaron Stevens, followed by Tim Hoffman.
My name is Jim Pittman. I'm a D20 resident, taxpayer, business owner, and my most treasured role, a grandparent of 2 D20 students. Mr. Salt, I know you recognize me from soccer games as I do my best to attend every sporting event my grandkids have. One event that I did not attend was the Student Forum on 10/4/23. I am thankful I wasn't here that night because I honestly don't know what would have happened if I was. My 11-year-old granddaughter was there, and what she experienced makes me sick to my stomach to even think about. The little girl who I have referred to as Angel since the day she was born was traumatized for Mr. Wilburn's personal gain. 14 months after this incident, my daughter was served with the lawsuit advising her that Derek Wilburn is suing her for defamation because she's been publicly advocating for the safety and well-being of my granddaughter. The lawsuit was filed on December 10th, which also happens to be Angel's birthday. The irony of this is not lost on me. A question to the board. If a teacher or any other staff member said the things that Derek Wilburn did that night in front of any students, wouldn't that person be terminated immediately? What is the difference? Derek Wilburn was well aware there were children in his audience that the subject did not apply to, and still chose to calmly speak his despicable message to them. Also, my opinion is that anyone who was in attendance that night, board member, parent, or otherwise, who doesn't stand up with Bernadette Guthrie is condoning Mr. Wilburn's unacceptable behavior. Mr. Salt, I am here today speaking in public for the first time in my life to ask you man to man to hold Mr. Wilburn responsible for what he's done to my family. Thank you.
Next up is Aaron Stevens, followed by Tim Hoffman, then Rob Rogers.
One of the first things we teach our kids is accountability. It lets the person or people you've wronged know that you recognize and see them and want them to know that you're sorry to have impacted them in a negative way. Bernadette Guthrie is still awaiting an apology from Derek Wilburn for something he did that is on video and countless others witnessed. I've heard all of the excuses, that the book he read from is in the middle school library. It's not. Or that he gave ample warning. He didn't. But the bottom line is that he did cause harm, and all that was asked of him was to take responsibility and apologize. Since then, Bernadette has repeatedly asked for an apology. That's all. She has restated publicly the events that occurred and explained the fallout for her child. She has extrapolated those events and deduced things about Mr. Wilburn as a direct result of his own actions and then his silence. She has said nothing that isn't true. Do those truths hurt Mr. Wilburn's feelings? Maybe. Has he lost his place on the board? No. Has he lost some respect in the community because of his own actions? Yes. I'm sorry. That's what it would have taken to end this. But instead, Mr. Wilburn won the election and is now responsible for making decisions that affect the people he wronged. And now he has the audacity to try to stop Bernadette from speaking and to silence one of his constituents. And get this, he said he would drop the lawsuit if she, wait for it, apologizes, proving that he does in fact know what that is. What precedence does it set to sue your constituents as a sitting public official because they speak truths that you don't want to acknowledge? It seems that maybe Derek Wilburn can't handle the pressure of being in that position, a place that he wanted to hold so badly that he read explicit passages from books meant for students in high school to students in elementary and middle school at a student-led forum and then doubled down. I've taught my children to take responsibility for their actions, even if the adults who are supposed to be their role models can't seem to muster the courage. The person who has had courage is Bernadette. I don't think Derek Wilburn realized what he was up against, and this lawsuit is him running scared, trying to stop free speech. As Ernest Hemingway once wrote, he was just a coward, and that was the worst luck any man could have.
Next up is Tim Hoffman, followed by Rob Rogers, then Veronica Baker.
Tim Hoffman, District Dad. Over the break, I started watching a series called Landman. It's a well-produced, excellent show about the ins and outs of the oil business. It's been educational, and well, it's got Billy Bob Thornton in it, so I'm there for it. Did you know that all across rural areas of western Texas extend these large structures that support the actual oil drill and help it do its job? They're called derricks. When all is well, these derricks contribute to the pumping out of 200 plus barrels of oil per day, generating profit of like $3 billion a day for the oil industry. Over time, though, these derricks can start to weaken and they lose their structural integrity. They quickly move from a highly productive asset to an organizational liability as barrel count can drop to the teens per day. A weak derrick with no integrity creates a dangerous and vulnerable situation where oil and friction are involved, setting the stage for fire or even explosions. What do you think Exxon and Chevron do in those vulnerable situations? Sit back and watch to see what happens? Hope nobody notices? Send hopes and prayers that the derrick doesn't collapse or burst into flames? No, they move quickly and decisively to either rework the derrick or get rid of it altogether. They make the intelligent decision of a leader to remove the liability to the bottom line. Academy District 20, you have a weakened derrick in your oil field with little to no integrity. It's defective, and strong leadership needs to make authoritative decisions to rectify the problems at hand. If you're part of this board, or perhaps you're the president of this board, and you've sat idly by in silence watching one of your peers file a frivolous lawsuit against an actively engaged district parent, lawsuits that are clearly designed to force the parent to drop their criticism of the aforementioned board member by making it costly to defend themselves, you are part of the problem. You're complicit in the actions of a petulant coward afraid of accountability. This is called a SLAPP lawsuit, and Colorado enacted a very strong anti-SLAPP law in 2019 to stop this kind of immature and cowardly violation of free speech. District 20 board members, again, your oil field has an actively burning derrick in it, and it's heading towards an explosion. It's time to tear it down and start over. For once, to quote my good friend Spike Lee, do the right thing.
Next up is Rob Rogers, followed by Veronica Baker, then Amy Mushall.
Seems congratulations are in order because Mr. Wilburn has officially made good on his threat to sue a parent for criticizing him, a bold move for someone who claims to champion the Constitution. Instead of addressing valid concerns about traumatizing a child with your performance at a student-led forum, you've decided to make this about silencing dissent, so bravo. Let's review real quick. You traumatized a child by reading explicit content to young students, then cried defamation when her mother tried to hold you accountable for something that you actually did. Now you're using the courts to defend what exactly? Your ego, your hypocrisy, certainly not the kids that you're supposed to serve. But this isn't about protecting children or schools or the academic excellence everyone is always crowing about. It's about Derrick Wilburn, protecting Derrick Wilburn. And it's a bold strategy for someone with such a poor record in court. You lost against Brennan Gilmore in the Charlottesville case, a defamation lawsuit where you admitted fault and settled out of court. Your threats against Tim Hoffman, another district parent, went nowhere except for actual defamation at a city council meeting. And I bet that this latest attempt will end just as embarrassingly. And board members, your silence here doesn't just make you complicit, it makes you part of the problem. The lawsuit specifically mentions this board and its rules, meaning you're already attached to this mess. Are you here to represent this community, or are you content to co-star in the Derrick Wilburn show? But the community is stepping up where you're failing. The GoFundMe campaign that I set up for Bernadette's legal defense has already hit half of its $20,000 goal in just 19 days. That's $10,000 in less than 3 weeks from people who are tired of your antics and determined to support her. Now, what does that say about where the public stands on this issue? And Derrick, I will say this slowly, just in case you're asleep again. The more you try to silence us, the louder that we will become.
Next up is Veronica Baker, followed by Amy Mushall and Jennifer Stites.
Hello, my name is Veronica Baker. I'm speaking tonight about a long-standing frustrating matter. You see, I have 3 special education students currently enrolled in D20 schools. For my oldest 2, they have been without speech services for the entirety of the year, and it doesn't look like they've acquired one for second semester yet either. When I spoke with the case manager, who is fantastic by the way, she stated that the district was short 8 speech pathologists. It is disturbing that a number of students who qualify aren't receiving needed speech services. I did receive a letter stating that my children would qualify for compensatory services, but the problem is my kids will be missing out on receiving these speech services in the much needed environment of their typically developing peers in a school setting. As Ms. Shandy can tell you, any trained professional that works with students that have disabilities, one of the most important therapeutic settings for these students is learning how to interact, talk, learn, and grow with their typically developing peers. Of course, these students need specialized help to accomplish this task. For my 16-year-old son, we're missing out on a window of time he can have these trained professionals assisting him in this optimal setting. We have approximately 2 years left of high school left. When I asked what the holdup is, I'm hearing that some qualified applicants have applied, have been offered a job but they are having to wait too long on board approval. In April of last year, without community input, the board approved that they would meet once a month instead of the historical bi-monthly meetings. They also decided that no board meeting would be scheduled for the month of July, which is when principals tend to hire around 50% of their staff for the upcoming school year. Why was that? I asked many very knowledgeable people, consulted newspapers, conducted research. I even reread the governance process 4.9. It didn't give me any indication why this change was good for kids. It seems to me that this change was convenient for the adults and not in the best interest of students. How are we meeting children's needs? How are we attracting and maintaining quality?
Next up is Amy Mushaw, followed by Jennifer Stites and Elizabeth Clay Del Rio.
Good evening. My name is Amy Mushall, and I'm here as a concerned parent and community member. I'm deeply troubled by the recent actions that have been taken by board member Derek Wilburn, which appear to conflict with the board's own policies, particularly 4.10 and 4.12 regarding respectful conduct, public image, and accountability. 410 states that members should focus on issues rather than personalities, act honestly, and protect the district's positive image. Yet Mr. Wilburn has targeted and intimidated parents in our community, filing defamation lawsuits against individuals who have simply voiced valid concerns. These actions not only undermine public trust, but also set a dangerous precedent that discourages parents from speaking openly about the welfare of their children. Additionally, 4.12 provides a clear process for addressing potential policy violations, which includes private conversations, possible legal consultation, and if necessary, public censure or a request for resignation. Ignoring this process, which is exactly what is happening, as we are just saying, it's just a process, we're just putting in this document. This is allowing harmful behavior to continue to go unchecked. Our students and families need board members who engage in healthy, constructive dialogue and not legal intimidation. I respectfully urge each member of this board to address these violations without delay. Upholding the board's code of conduct is essential for maintaining a safe and transparent environment where parents and educators can collaborate.
Next up is Jennifer Stites, followed by Elizabeth Clay Del Rio, then Clint Guthrie.
Through a district statement on shared values, this board is charged with maintaining a neutral environment to stay focused on academic achievement and success for all students. When I was working in a kindergarten classroom here in ASD 20 as a para, I found out on Facebook that you were looking into a policy to arm teachers and staff. I was first outraged that you were considering addressing a security issue by adding guns to a classroom. I was further outraged that you didn't start the process by asking teachers and staff how they would feel about an influx of guns. This marked a turning point for me. Since then, you have made it more difficult for students to check out library materials by utilizing an opt-in process rather than the opt-out process recommended by staff. You have implemented policies to ban books and outright ban flags, including the Pride flag. The LGBTQ community here in ASD 20 now more than ever needs allies, not cold shoulders. There's also a specific policy prohibiting indoctrination by teachers. This is a polarizing, politicized label. It is also unfair and untrue. None of these actions are neutral, nor are they shared values. I do not share these values. This is a political agenda. Your actions have created divisions in this community, and you are charged with serving this community. It is time to start focusing on our actual shared values. It is time to reevaluate your priorities. It's time to start rebuilding trust, improve communication, and be accountable. It's time to start meeting twice a month. Let's turn the page and focus on things we can all agree on. Teacher pay and retention for starters, a livable wage for classified positions, fully staffed SPED departments. These are non-controversial issues we can all get behind and directly affect both teachers and staff. Thank you.
Next up is Elizabeth Clay Del Rio, followed by Clint Guthrie.
Members of the board, hello. I'm 23. I'm a college student. We heard a lot about community at the beginning of this meeting, so that's what I'm here to talk about, and I'll do it the best way that I know how, which is to pray about it. So, Father God, I pray today that you would help a sense of community to return in full to our schools, faculty, staff, and everyone else under the sound of my voice. We heard a lot about community at the beginning of this meeting, like with that class quilt made by the 5th graders. I thought that was wonderful. I thought that was beautiful. But I think it's also sad that we live in such a disjointed time that building community is a break away from the status quo. Lord, I pray that you would help us to stop passing by each other like ships in the night. In this day, there are so many things for people to disagree on, both in the worlds of students and in the worlds of adults. I pray not that you would wordlessly assimilate us into the same thoughts, but that you would help us facilitate better environments where opposing arguments can be heard without losing sight of the humanity in the other side. I pray further that you would have an encounter with each of the students, faculty, staff, parents, and all else concerned in the welfare of D20, and that they would know that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob sees them, loves them, and wants to lift them into a joy that won't be stolen away by life circumstances. At the end of the day, we're all here because we care about the good people of this district. Help us not to make monsters of the mere shadows of men. Thank you, God. I love you. And in Jesus' name I pray and give much thanks. Amen.
Next up is Clint Guthrie, followed by Bernadette Guthrie, then Leah McFan.
Good evening. My name is Clint Guthrie. I'm a D20 resident and parent. Originally wrote these comments last year, but had my mic cut off by Mr. Salt. So I'm here tonight to repeat them, hopefully uninterrupted. As a father, my main responsibility is to protect my children from harm. As a father to a little girl, the worst thing I can think of is her innocence being violated. It being violated by a grown man is my nightmare. But that is our reality. It's been 15 months since Mr. Wilburn decided to read explicit sexual passages to young children, including my daughter, at the student forum held at Chinook Trail Middle School. My then 11-year-old daughter left this event completely distraught, unforgettable night, and nothing has been done to acknowledge the trauma he's caused. Mr. Wilburn's decision to read these passages from adult books during this forum robbed my little girl, as well as many others in this room, of their sense of security and innocence. The trauma inflicted upon her young mind by the actions of someone who now is in a position of authority is completely incomprehensible to me. For 15 months, there's been no acknowledgement, no apology, no attempt to address the distress caused to these kids, the lack of accountability or remorse for subjecting impressionable children to explicit content is completely unacceptable. The trauma caused by these actions cannot be overstated, and it is the responsibility of this board in this room to ensure that incidents like this never happen again. This board has not only ignored this responsibility, but now sits silently while our family continues to be targeted by the board bully. Remember that a chain is only as strong as your weakest link.
Next up is Bernadette Guthrie, followed by Leah McFan, then Emily Vaughn.
My name is Bernadette Guthrie, parent, resident, and planner of the CTES holiday party. Thanks to Miss Yanez for that shout out during the spotlight, as that was truly a labor of love. I'd like to thank you for tabling 4.10 as multiple violations were not addressed. As you mentioned earlier, there is a rapidly escalating violation, and I would strongly recommend you take a closer look at the dates you mentioned in order to stay compliant in your report. Thank you to the board member or board members who have shown integrity and indicated concern with this conduct and your bravery in addressing it. I look forward to the comprehensive report in February with an appropriate resolution. I know we were talking about the code of conduct policy a lot, which could be interpreted as subjective, but per GP 4.04,
The Board of Education shall declare a vacancy if a board member fails to attend 3 regular board meetings within a 12-month period unless the board member's absence is otherwise excused by the board president. So all that enforcing that policy would be brave leadership by Mr. Salt. Thank you.
Next up is Leah McFan, followed by Emily Vaughn, then Megan Gakey.
Good evening. My name is Leah McFan, and I'm a proud staff member at Chinook Trail Middle School. I'm speaking tonight because, as a teacher in this district, I have serious concerns about the behavior and motivations of a particular board member. Over the past year and a half, I've attended countless board meetings, often after teaching all day and coaching right after, because the issues here are too important to ignore. I've spoken about the former board president sowing distrust in teachers, the hypocrisy of claiming to follow Christ while failing to show love and compassion, the irresponsibility of asking teachers to act as armed security, the disregard for staff safety, the mismanagement of district funds, and the urgent need for competitive teacher salaries. Yet, here we are again. On October 4th, 2023, I attended a student-led forum at Chinook Trail Middle School. When asked, quote, how does the school board ensure that banned books do not negatively impact students' access to diverse and educational literature, end quote, Director Wilburn used the opportunity to read inappropriate excerpts from books he claimed were in our library. His remarks were premeditated, delivered from a printed script, and made in front of students as young as elementary age. He knew the audience, yet chose to go forward with his stunt. Afterward, I heard him disparaging one of the student moderators, a former student of mine, saying it was, quote, gross that this child spoke their opinion and suggested that their mother, quote, put them up to it. This is the person elected to represent me and my students, not because a majority of educators voted for him, but due to a smear campaign funded by dark money. And now the same individual who struggles to tolerate dissent is suing a parent for protecting her child. This board member has missed numerous meetings, fallen asleep during others, and shown little interest in acting with integrity or the best interest of staff and students. President Salt, if you truly care about District 20, it's time to remove Director Wilburn. His self-serving actions and divisive behavior have no place here. Thank you.
Next up is Emily Vaughn, followed by Megan Gakey.
Hi, my name is Emily. I've got 2 kids in the district. I don't have anything prepared because I quite literally just got off a 12-hour shift, multiple 12-hour shifts actually, as a healthcare worker. Right now, I should be home asking my kids how their second day of school is. Rather, I am here, and I am here because I would like to think on the night that the student forum occurred that it was a little man with a big ego using a power trip. But since then, it seems that he's not here. And he fell asleep last time. And as someone who has worked bedside nursing to ICU, I think that the gentleman is cognitively incompetent, and I would like to think that it was secondary to the brain tumor that is still in his brain or has been removed. But nonetheless, he is not competent to be a board member any longer. He wouldn't be able to sign a consent if that was in front of him right now. So it is amazing to me that Mr. Salt, you continue to protect him because something has to be done. The writing is on the wall. I was there that night. You guys continue to silence him. And now I'm going to look at you, Ms. Cons, because you and I, we have not always seen politically eye to eye, but I have a lot of respect for you because I actually do genuinely believe that you are here for the kids. And you are now in a position of being vice president and potentially this next year being reelected. And I would actually consider voting for you because I genuinely think that you are here for the kids. But right now, I need to see leadership because when you did all those forums when you were trying to be elected, what I saw was a woman who ended up beating every single other individual that you slated with. You beat them all. You had the most votes because people saw the leadership that you have. And right now, that's what I need to see from you is I need to see someone on this board with a back.
Finally, Megan Gakey.
Hey, Megan Gakey, mom of 3 students currently in D20 schools, military family, and reside in D20. Jumping where I left off last month, I am proud of a lot of the work our teachers and students do in D20, but I like to use my public speaking time to talk about things I know are issues for other parents and community members who can't attend meetings. More than one parent talked last month about their disappointment with the lack of services for their children at their schools. SPED parents in particular have had many challenges across D20. One of the major issues is the need for more staffing and continuity of that staffing. I'd also argue that we need smaller classroom sizes than what we currently have at several of our schools. All students benefit when students of all different abilities are integrated into classrooms. However, we need staffing and proper supports to make sure that classrooms are running smoothly. We cannot expect teachers to have classes filled to the brim without proper supports and staff there to help. Ms. Allen pointed out that we had millions of dollars left over from not fully staffing our schools. Not having our schools staffed impacts our students. Teachers are humans. They can only do so much. I spoke last year about a friend who had a teacher who quit at the start of the year. The students in that class had substitutes who were not able to provide adequate teaching for those students, and it broke up communication between parents and the teachers. They were unable to implement help plans that several of those students needed. They dropped the ball and the students fell farther behind. Many of the students fell behind in math in particular. A lot of damage can be done. If they keep going to school day after day and feeling confused and unheard, they might give up. They may start to feel like they can't learn. And I can tell you that one of the parents pulled all of their kids out of public school at the end of the year, and that was one of the main factors in their decision. If we support our students and parents and staff in our schools, we will keep our students. We also reduce undue stress of our current staff and students. Hopefully that would help reduce turnover. And I guess I'll stop there.
Thank you. Superintendent Haber, do you have any clarifications or next steps?
I do not.
Was our business this evening focused on activities that promote and honor our mission statement, our belief statements, and our global end statement that reminds us that all students will have the knowledge, skills, and character necessary for successful transition to the next level, and upon graduation will be fully prepared for success? Did the board hear information tonight that would require the review or revision of a policy? Did the board hear information tonight that would require a new policy? Did the board hear information tonight that the board would like to include on a future agenda?
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Salt. As a matter of fact, I did.
All right, Mr. Wilburn?
We didn't go into I'm sorry. I don't remember which EL it was. I've lost it in my notes, but one of the ELs tonight discusses the governing policies surrounding unmanned aircraft, EBBD, I believe. It was last updated in April. And given the things we've seen happening around the country lately, I think we may want to revisit that. The wording for the flight of those aircraft by non-licensed people in residential areas says something along the lines of, and I'm sorry, I had it in front of me, but I closed it, says something along the lines of, we shall respect the privacy of the community. Given what we see happening, we may want to tighten that up at some point. Maybe even to the point of saying with the permission of the people over whom we're flying, tighter restrictions on photography and video equipment, things like that. Kind of a hot thing in the country, and I think we'd be smart to review it.
Okay, thank you. We've made a note of that for the next agenda setting meeting. All right, we have voted to reschedule the executive session until January 16th. So with that, this meeting is adjourned.